Good evening, everyone. I'm Steve Adubato. More importantly, it is my honor, my pleasure to introduce New Jersey Governor Chris Christie. He has joined us once again for Governor Christie on the Line. This is a live call-in program. Governor, it's an honor to have you once again join us.
Happy to be back, Steve.
We have had you many times, but this is different. This is a simulcast not only on NJ.TV and WNET, but also we're being heard on News Talk Radio 710 WOR.
Yeah.
And WBGO Jazz 88.3 FM, streamed live on NJ.com. We're coming to folks from the NJ.TV studios right here at Montclair State University at the Dumont Television Studio. We are honored and pleased to be doing this production in cooperation with NJ.TV. We are the Caucus Educational Corporation. So we got that out of the way, Governor. You ready to take care of some business?
That's really good. It's very efficient. We better be good tonight. All these different venues listening to us.
We've got a lot going on. And by the way, as soon as we get on the air, I find out that Pete is on the line. And Pete, I know that you know the number, but I want to make sure that everyone else knows it. It's 1-800-222. I see it right there. 1-800-222-6459. You'll see it on your screen the entire time, and you'll also see an email address that keeps coming up. Please pick up the phone, email. We have some video information that will come in as well, video questions that will come in from our partners at the Star Ledger and NJ.com as well. The governor was thrilled last time they came in as well. Yeah. We had some spirited questions then as well. Hey, Pete, Steve Adubato here. More importantly, we have Governor Christie on the line. Go ahead, Pete. Talk to the governor.
Hi, Pete. I'm calling from WOR Radio, Steve and Governor, and my question for you is, in light of the recent salary cap placed on superintendents, how can we justify principals making more money than their superintendents? And also the fact that we're losing superintendents to the state of New York.
Great question.
Pete, we're not losing superintendents to the state of New York, and that's myth. We've had a couple who have gone. But the fact of the matter is that we have to start getting down the administrative costs in education. We spend $17,700 per pupil per year in New Jersey, more than any state in America. And some of that contribution is made by very high-priced superintendents. You've had some superintendents in this state who are making over $300,000 a year. It's just, we can't have it. Now, as to dealing with the principals, too, that's our next step in terms of how we deal with salaries at the next level. I can only attack this kind of one at a time, and we're doing that. But, you know, at the end of the day, I want good superintendents in New Jersey, but I don't think that any superintendent has a harder job than me. And the cap is $175,000, which is the governor's salary, plus incentives. So they can make more than me if they do well and their schools perform.
Governor, clarify something for us. Tonight on NJ Today, our news program here on NJ.TV, before I left to do this program, I saw a report. Chris Surf, Education Commissioner, was giving a speech to some superintendents. He said that he is open and that you are open, and then you clarify that you are not open to the question of changing your mind on superintendent salary caps. Are you or are you not open on this question of superintendent salary caps?
Not open.
He was incorrect when he said that.
I think he meant to say he was open to it. I don't think he meant to represent my position on it.
Thank you, Governor. We go to our colleagues, our partners at the Star Ledger. We have a video question. The governor will answer it very directly. Let's go to the clip.
How can someone like myself who is unemployed receive low-cost health insurance?
And by the way, Governor, I want to clarify that our colleagues at the Star Ledger and NJ.com took their video cameras all across the state, and they got Yvette and other people to ask you very directly. Go ahead. Health insurance.
Well, there's a couple of different ways to look at it. We have New Jersey Family Care,
yes,
which is a New Jersey-run program. You have to have certain qualifications to meet that regarding your level of income, or if someone who's unemployed, your asset level. Also, obviously, Medicaid is available for folks as well. Who are unemployed and who may not have as much money as others, can't afford insurance on their own. So basically what they need to do is they can call down to the state of New Jersey, call my office at 609-292-6000.
Do it again, Governor.
609-292-6000. And you ask our guys to get you together with the people at Human Services who can answer that question for you. Our Office of Constituent Relations will handle the problem for you, get the information for you, and get back to you with it. That's a service we provide at the governor's office for anyone who calls in and is looking to work their way through the maze of state government.
Terrific. By the way, Mike is on the line from Hoboken. Mike, hold up for a second. I just want to give everyone the email address. If you want to email your questions, our producers are standing by right now. The email address is democracyworks@caucusnj.org. You will see it up on your screen. Mike is calling in from Hoboken. Mike, where are you watching us right now or listening to us?
I'm right in the living room in Hoboken.
He did it again. Okay, never mind.
What station you listening on?
WNET or NJ.TV, where?
NJ.TV.
Got it. Mike, you there for the governor? Go ahead.
Governor, is it true that you want to move towards a system that compensates teachers based on performance? And if so, how will the system affect teachers of students with disabilities?
Well, I do want to move to have an element of compensation be based upon merit and have people evaluated every year based upon how their students progress. Now, that way you can have it applied just as equally to teachers who work with children with disabilities. Because what we're looking for every year is progress. We're not going to teach to a test, which is what some will accuse us of wanting to do. I don't want to get somebody to an absolute number because, you know, Steve, some people may come in to a classroom in Short Hills, New Jersey, for instance, with kids who are already got great background, high achievement.
A lot of money there.
A lot of money and you know, a different basic education that they got to before they got into that classroom. Other kids may come into a place like in Newark, which is more challenged, where they start at a lower level. What we want to see from teachers is that every kid in that classroom, or as many kids as possible, show improvement. So you're concerned about how would it deal with children with developmental disabilities. You can show improvement year to year in those folks. The improvement may be slower incrementally than dealing with other children. But I think what every parent of a child with developmental disabilities wants is for the child to reach their maximum potential. To do that, we got to have teachers who are showing kids how to improve.
Governor, it's an email question that comes in from Kelly, who is in Clark, New Jersey, and she listens to News Talk Radio 710 WOR, and she had this question, and you talked about this yesterday, and you'll be talking about this a lot. It's the Muslim surveillance issue. She said, Governor, what will you do to ensure that the sharing of information between the NYPD, the New York Police Department, and New Jersey law enforcement in light of the NYPD surveillance of the Muslim community without your knowledge? What will you do to ensure that information will be handled in the right way? She's very concerned.
Well, listen.
By the way, explain to folks what went down there, because you were the U.S. attorney when this operation began.
Yeah, and I was never briefed about it, didn't know anything about it as U.S. attorney, nor did anybody on my staff, my senior staff.
Excuse me, Governor. I want to be clear on this. I've heard you say that you don't remember being briefed.
Right.
Could you have been briefed and not remembered, or were you just not briefed?
It's possible, Steve, but when I've now gone back to check with members of my senior staff since I made that initial comment, none of them have any recollection of being briefed either. It would be highly, highly unusual for the office to be briefed at a level below us for that type of operation.
What is the NYPD doing right now? What are they doing that is such an issue?
Well, listen, I think that people are concerned about the NYPD coming in here and not sharing their information with law enforcement. Here's my concern about it, Steve. It's not about turf. What it's about is the cardinal rule we learned from 9/11. We must share information with each other. And the fact that NYPD may be surveilling someone in New Jersey that may be a valuable target. Maybe we're already surveilling the person. How would they know? Maybe we're going to have surveillance teams trip over each other and compromise the investigation or injure or kill an officer. Maybe we're going to miss certain leads and information. Here's what I don't want to be. I don't want to be the law enforcement officer who has to raise their hand before Congress after another terrorist attack, God forbid, and explain why they were unwilling to share information with another law enforcement agency in a jurisdiction where they're performing surveillance.
Excuse me, Governor, for interrupting me. The NYPD says, Mayor Bloomberg says that Newark officials, New Jersey officials, police officials knew.
Well, first of all, there's a disagreement about that. Secondly, they have also admitted that they've engaged in other surveillance in New Jersey where they didn't advise anyone. Okay. And so the fact of the matter is that my view is I don't care about whether they make a bust in New Jersey or somebody else does. I don't care as long as someone gets caught if they're engaged in plotting a terrorist act. But what I know from the Kane Commission in 9/11 is that the biggest fault of law enforcement in 9/11 was getting arrogant, getting paranoid, and not sharing information across agencies with each other. We have the Joint Terrorism Task Force, headquartered at the FBI in Newark, that has federal, state, and local police on the Terrorism Task Force. One phone call, all of them will be advised, and that's all they need to do.
Governor, I'll get off this one more question. Is it wrong, whether they share information or not, move off that if you could, is it wrong for the NYPD to be engaged in surveillance of Muslim American citizens?
Well, it would depend on the circumstances, and the Attorney General is reviewing that right now.
Do you think it's wrong?
I don't want to give an opinion, Steve, because I don't know all the facts, and that's why I have an Attorney General. Let's let Attorney General Chiesa, who I trust, review the information, and when he has a conclusion, he'll come out.
We have folks, as I said, watching us on TV, looking at us on television on NJ.com. TV and WNET, but also on NJ.com. So the telephone number, no matter where you're watching or listening to us, is 1-800-222-6459. We go to Wayne, New Jersey. You've been up there. You had some flood issues a while back. Lonnie, I want to thank you for joining us for Governor Christie on the line. This is Steve Adubato here. Go ahead, Lonnie.
Hi. I was wondering when and if municipalities will see any relief from the pension reforms that were passed last year.
Lonnie, I would say your municipality in Wayne has already seen some relief from it. And what you're going to see more of coming forward is relief from the health benefit reform, because that's getting phased in over 4 years. So every year you'll see public employees paying more of their own premiums, and you'll get a benefit for that at your municipality. This year already, you've begun to see the benefit of the pension reform that we've done, and your municipality can explain to you how much they saved. But there were hundreds of millions of dollars saved already on pension reform, and that will continue going forward.
Real quick, Governor, what do you say to the Democrats who say you're trying to lower the wrong tax? Hey, Governor Christie, first of all, we don't have the money to lower the income tax 10%, as you proposed, and it's the wrong tax. We should be trying to lower the property tax, you say, Chris Christie?
Well, first of all, they've now gotten off the argument that we don't have the money to do it. And now they're arguing with me that I'm lowering the wrong tax. So let me start here. This is coming from the people who raised taxes and fees 115 times in 8 years before I became governor. So what I say to the people out in the audience tonight, we've won the argument. Now we're just arguing over which tax to cut. We're arguing over the details. I'm happy to have that argument and discussion with the Democrats in the legislature. But remember, these are the folks who tried twice since I've been governor to raise your income taxes. They've raised income taxes and fees 115 times in 8 years. And so now we're having an argument over which tax to cut. That's a good argument for New Jersey's future. Happy to engage in it. We'll come to a resolution between now and June.
We'll go back to this issue of taxes a little bit later. There are some who question whether, in fact, New Jersey has the revenue to be cutting taxes. The governor will be talking about that in just a little bit. We go back to our partners and colleagues at the Star Ledger and NJ.com with this video question for the governor.
Why is it that you can't honor the promises that were made to the workers of New Jersey in union contracts?
Go ahead, Governor.
You know.
Why do we get that reaction from you?
Because it's obviously an ill-informed guy with a point of view. Because we haven't broken any contracts. We haven't broken any contracts. Every contract that's been out there has been honored. Fact of the matter is that this is what happens with the public sector unions in this state. When they get what they want through collective bargaining, they're happy. When they don't get it through collective bargaining, they go to the legislature and get benefits bestowed on them from the legislature, which has happened over and over again. And so I've said, okay, I'm fine with collective bargaining. I've already settled with a number of the state workers' unions, collectively bargained with them in a fair and even way, and come to contract resolution with a number of them. So I have no opposition to collective bargaining, but what I do have an opposition to is people who don't think they have to pay their fair share. And the fact is, they went to the legislature to get a bunch of these things legislated, so it's good for the goose is good for the gander. And we made pension and benefit changes with the legislature, and after 4 years on the health insurance changes, Steve, it goes back to collective bargaining.
So you in no way feel that a public employee who feels that you are targeting them in any way to be the scapegoat in this situation in the state, that's a fair argument?
No. Everyone's sacrificed, Steve. Talk to the union electrician who's been out of work for 18 months and still has to pay his property taxes. Property taxes which support free health care for public workers, for a guy who's got to put food on his table. Everyone has made a sacrifice in this situation, not just public workers. Everyone has made a
Governor,
sacrifice.
Respectfully, we've had this part of the discussion before, and we'll have it again, and we'll go back to the callers. You say everyone has sacrificed.
You bet.
Have those who are the wealthiest in this state sacrificed in the way that you just described if you continue to be opposed to raising taxes on millionaires in this state?
Listen, you bet they have, because the people who make the most money in this state, the top 1% pay 41% of the income tax. Top 1% pay 41% of the income tax. We have the most progressive income tax system in America. The top 1% pay 41%. Yeah, they've sacrificed. They've been sacrificing for a long time.
And hitting them harder would be wrong at this time, Governor?
Be bad for business in this state. We are creating jobs in this state now. And let me tell you, we created more jobs in 2011 than any year since the year 2000.
How many?
48,000 jobs in 2011, 60,000 jobs since I become governor. And here's the thing. Think about what happened between 2000 and 2009. We had Democratic governors, Democratic legislators raising taxes over and over and over again, 115 times. And even when the country was getting job growth in the middle of the last decade, we got nothing. And the reason we got nothing is because we put the wet blanket of overtaxation and overspending on top of our economy. I'm not going back there. I'm not raising anyone's taxes in the state of New Jersey while I'm governor. Folks, if you're listening to us on radio, watching on television, streaming online, NJ.com, the telephone number is 1-800-222-6459. The email address for your questions, we're jammed with questions online as well, as democracyworks@caucusnj.org. Let's go to an email question from Jersey City. Okay. We have Joel who wants to know, by the way, he sent this in on NJ.com. Governor, since the Obama administration accepted New Jersey's waiver for the No Child Left Behind initiative, what is your plan, Governor Christie, for school testing? Will you keep the current system, or will you follow a model implemented by other states, school testing? We're examining that right now. Commissioner Surf is examining that. We don't believe
Education Commissioner Surf.
Yes. We don't believe we have a testing regimen now that is working. And so he's examining it. We're considering a number of different options. One of the things we're considering is the ACT, a more standardized test that is used across the country for college admissions. There's a lot of different things we're considering, and the commissioner is going to come out with a program on that in the near future. But we couldn't do that until we got the waiver. We just got the waiver about a week ago, and now we're going to plan to implement what we're going to do on accountability.
Ready for another call?
Yeah.
We go to Nutley, New Jersey, which I believe is the home of Martha Stewart. You didn't think I was going there?
No. I thought you were going to go with, well, forget it.
No, Martha Stewart.
All right, Martha Stewart, sure.
Yeah,
birthplace of Martha Stewart.
Birthplace. She doesn't still live there. But,
no.
Who are the county executive?
County Executive Joe DiVincenzo, who, by the way, is a great friend of mine, and I love the guy.
And he is a Democrat, but he has been somewhat supportive of some of your policies.
Listen, he's been a good office holder, and he's been somebody who, when he thinks I'm right, he supports me, puts partisanship aside.
By the way, before we go to Peter, let's talk about that. Not about the county executive, but what's the deal with you and the Democrats? You getting along any better than you used to?
We always get along well.
Hold on.
We always get along well.
Are you seeing some things I'm not seeing down in the State House? I've seen some Democratic press conferences that don't sound like that.
Listen, you got to put aside the bluster and look at the results. We've balanced two budgets without raising taxes. We put a 2% cap on property taxes, reformed the interest arbitration system, passed sweeping pension and benefit reform. We have done extraordinary things together, big things together. And you know, of course we're going to have disagreements, and of course we're going to raise our voices to each other every once in a while. But what the people of New Jersey want are results. What's different about Trenton than Washington, Steve, is in Trenton, we can get things done in divided government. In Washington, all they're doing is yelling at each other.
Yeah, we'll come back to this, but Democrats said heck no to your 10%, and actually they used other words.
So far.
No way to the 10% income tax.
So far.
You are an optimist, I will say that.
I live in hope. Stay tuned.
Clinton used to talk about that.
No, he lived in a place called Hope.
Thank you. Let's go to Nutley, New Jersey. There's a lot of hope there as well. We have, I'll leave that alone. Peter, hey, Steve Adubato here with Governor Christie online. Go ahead, Pete.
Hi. I was wondering when the governor is going to make medical marijuana available to the chronically ill patients of New Jersey, since it's been roughly a year that the permits were awarded.
Great question.
Problem right now is, Pete, something that's completely out of my control. No town in New Jersey wants the centers. The only town that's approved of it is Montclair.
My hometown.
But every other town where they've gone, including one just yesterday, once again tabled it. Here's the problem. This is why the law was ill-advised in the way it was put together in the beginning. This should have been a hospital-based program. So you didn't have to worry about citing it in individual towns. And the law should have required that it be put in New Jersey hospitals if it's truly a medical program. The problem we're having now is something I can't fix. If individual municipalities do not want an alternative treatment center in their town, I cannot force them to take one. And so as a result, the delay you're seeing now is not anything that's caused by the state. It's caused by individual municipalities who say, we don't want an illegal drug given out in our town.
Respectfully, Governor, I will move on, but I will also have to say that you have obviously a strong personality and you express your views clearly. If you said that you supported the idea of those who are sick and suffering with multiple sclerosis or whatever other disease, that they could be helped by this, you know that a lot of towns would be more open to this.
I've said it. I said it last summer.
Forcefully?
I don't see anything without force.
All right. You believe that you have clearly stated that you support this program?
Yes, and I want the program implemented, and I said it last summer.
Governor, we're going to talk about prisoner reentry with Shawnette, who talked to our colleagues at the Star Ledger and NJ.com. Go ahead, Shawnette, talk to the governor.
Are there any new plans for second chance programs for people to get back into the workforce in the future?
Go, Governor.
Shawnette, I just announced today my plan for making drug treatment mandatory for all nonviolent offenders who have an addiction problem. We're talking about thousands of people in New Jersey, and instead of just warehousing them in prison, we need to give them a second chance. And we need to treat drug addiction like the disease it is. And we can't send people to jail drug addicted. Drugs get smuggled into jail, they remain drug addicted, they come out drug addicted, and we wonder why they come back out and commit crimes.
Right.
Drug addiction is a disease. We need to treat it as such. And this program, which is a bipartisan program, my idea, but I had Assemblywoman Bonnie Watson-Coleman there today to support my idea. Senator Sandy Cunningham was there to support my idea. And the Speaker has said she's supportive. We're going to get this done and get drug treatment. This will help to give people a second chance. We also have established a prisoner reentry person inside the governor's office who is handling that directly with me to integrate this into our whole prisoner reentry process with the parole board.
You really believe in this, Governor. You also talked in that press conference about a family member who you clearly you did not want to, and there's no reason for you to identify, who has dealt with the issue of drugs, and that has clearly influenced you as well. And you said, listen, because you were there with your Attorney General, Jeff Chiesa, and you said, look, for those who say this causes, some people think we're soft on crime here, you said, look, there are some other initiatives, and obviously you were talking about the bail initiative for those who are convicted of violent crime.
Yep.
Explain what that is so we can have a sense of your overall crime policy.
Sure. What I say is with nonviolent drug offenders, let's stop spending $49,000 a year to warehouse them in prison and make them no better. Let's get them out. But let's open up those jail cells for repeat violent offenders who are arrested again for a violent offense. And let's leave it in the discretion of a judge on whether they get bail or not based on their dangerousness to the community. What they do, Steve, is these guys get out immediately on bail. They go out, they intimidate witnesses, they commit more crimes. So people with a long rap sheet, we do this in the federal system, if they're proven to a judge to be a danger to their community, they're held in prison until their trial. I think we should do that to make our community safer and to protect the integrity of our justice system so that witnesses actually show up at trial and aren't intimidated by violent criminals who come back out into their neighborhood and try to say, hey, you come and testify against me? Don't worry, I'll be back.
You are listening to Governor Chris Christie. This program is called Christie on the Line. It's a co-production between NJ.TV and the Caucus Educational Corporation. You're listening to us on the radio and watching us on TV, and we're also streaming on NJ.com. The telephone number is 1-800-222-6459. And we also go to Fairfield, New Jersey, and Marina is on the line for Governor Christie. Go ahead, Marina, talk to the governor.
Hi, Mr. Christie. My question is, with the reservoirs of New Jersey, northern New Jersey, being at 100% capacity, what are your intentions with the spring season approaching on lowering those levels to accommodate the potential rainfalls of the upcoming season?
Well, Marina, as you may recall from last year, I'm the first governor who actually ordered us to deal with those reservoirs differently and to lower their levels. And there's a lot of controversy about that. Now, I know residents often feel as if it's a layup. You should just lower the reservoirs. But, you know, it's controversial about whether to do that or not do it. There's experts on both sides of it. I've decided that I think it's the right thing to do. And I think we made things better last year during Irene, which was in the fall, by lowering reservoirs in a number of different areas. I think we mitigated some of the damage. Now, Irene was a 100-year flood for us, a once every 100-year flood. But I think we'll be able to deal with the flooding, Marina, and I know in Fairfield, I went and visited there in the aftermath of Irene, and I know how horrible the flooding was in Fairfield. But by lowering the reservoirs in the northern part of the state, I think we can help in terms of making the flooding less dangerous and less difficult and destructive than they were if we wouldn't.
Governor, real quick before we go to another video rolling, the biggest lesson you've learned when it comes to the part of your job as the chief executive of the state dealing with crises like Irene and others, particularly storms. They're just incredible when they happen and devastating.
You have to talk to people on a regular basis. You have to let them know what you're doing to try to deal with the situation. You have to let them know what you need them to do. And you have to do it in clear, strong terms so they understand exactly what you're talking about. So when we're preparing for Hurricane Irene, you know, I told people they needed to get away from the Jersey Shore. Now, this is in the middle of the summer, in August, in the height of the season, the week before Labor Day.
That was the get the hell off the beach.
Right. I mean, I asked them nicely the first time. They didn't seem to quite understand. I was watching a video screen up in my command center at the state police headquarters and saw people on the beach in Asbury Park putting suntan lotion on themselves, making, sand castles, grabbing their surfboard and running out to the ocean when we were hours away from the hurricane. And so, this is Jersey. So I told them, get the hell off the beach.
It was clear.
They left.
It was
after
very
that.
Clear. Yes.
Yeah.
Like you said.
You weren't down there, were you?
No, I was not at the Jersey Shore. We will go back there. There's some, big on the Jersey Shore.
Love the Jersey Shore.
Absolutely.
The place, not the show.
Yeah, no. You've been very clear on that as well. You're not a fan of the Jersey Shore.
No.
Snooki, not good for the state.
No, first of all, she doesn't live here.
Situation, not good for the state.
He doesn't live here either.
We go back to the Star Ledger at NJ.com. Video rolling for the governor. Go ahead. Talk to Governor Christie.
What programs are you putting into place to ensure that fresh food is available to people in inner cities?
I'm sorry, Joanna, could you say that again?
Fresh food?
Well, yeah, you know what? I have the question right here. Fresh food in our inner cities, Governor. That's the spirit of his question.
Well, listen, we are working, our Department of Agriculture, under Secretary Doug Fisher, is working to try to make sure that we fill in the gaps on what they call food deserts in inner cities where they don't have anything. But, good development this week through us working with Mayor Cory Booker in Newark, the first new supermarket in Newark in a very long time, bringing fresh food to the people in Newark. That's a great development. I commend the mayor for his effort on that. That's a great job to get fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, and fresh food right into the inner city in Newark. I think it's a great thing. I congratulate the business owners who are opening it up and investing in Newark, and I congratulate the mayor for his hard work.
Good stuff. Governor, we have another email question. By the way, email address, folks, even though we have so many that came in before the show, we're taking some during the show as well. The email address is democracyworks@caucusnj.org. The telephone number is 1-800-222-6459. Let's take this one. Joanna Gag is our executive producer. Let's go with the one about clean energy. This comes from WNET.com from Shelley, Hardwick, New Jersey. You know that well.
Yep.
Governor, why are you diverting clean energy funds and defeating energy efficiency programs that would create jobs and save the state citizens millions in fuel costs? This has to do with clean energy funds having to do with the Board of Public Utilities.
Yep.
Explain that to folks.
Well, listen, we have hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars in clean energy funds, and we're spending them both inside the BPU and outside the BPU.
Before you go any further, full disclosure, the Caucus Educational Corporation used some of those dollars in terms of public awareness programs about clean energy. There's a lot of money there.
There's a lot of money there. And so what we're saying is not all of it should be spent through the BPU, that we're doing a number of things to promote clean energy, renewable energy through the budget, and some of them we use through the budget through other departments like DEP and otherwise, and some of them we use through the BPU. So are we technically diverting the money from the BPU? Yes, but we're still using it on clean energy programs.
You're saying that those dollars don't necessarily have to all be spent at the Board of Public Utilities,
yes,
but have to be spent on what, Governor?
On clean energy programs, programs that promote efficiency in energy use, programs that promote renewable energy. New Jersey now, Steve, is the second greatest solar energy state in America, just behind California.
So it's not like you can spend it on education.
No, it's not.
I just want to clarify that.
Absolutely not. No, we're spending it. We're spending on approved uses for these funds.
Got it. Let's go to Bloomfield, New Jersey. Mark, how you doing? Steve Adubato here with Governor Chris Christie. How you doing?
Hi, Steve. How are you?
Good.
Hi, Governor.
Yes, sir.
What is your stand on closing of the developmental centers for the mentally disabled? I have a brother in Hutterton, and we're a little worried about, we're getting pushed into these group homes, and some of these kids are like 2 or 3 years old with the mentally handicapped. They're not going to be able to go into a group home, Governor.
Thank you, Mark.
You're absolutely right. Listen, here's my view on it. There's going to be some developmental centers that may wind up being closed, and here's why. Because there's a great number of the people who are currently in group homes, who are currently in developmental centers, who would be much better in group homes. Now, there's always going to be some people who are so profoundly disabled, like the reference you just made, that they're going to need institutions for those folks, developmental centers. And so anyone who tells you we're closing all the developmental centers in the state is just wrong. We have a commission right now that was created by virtue of a bill sponsored by Senator Jeff Van Drew from Cape May County. And I have appointees to it, the Senate President and the Speaker have appointees to it, that are holding hearings and examining the question of, should we close any developmental centers, and if we should, which ones? But I will tell you that anyone who's so profoundly disabled that they need to be institutionalized, they will have a slot in a developmental center in New Jersey.
Let's go to Franklin Lakes, which I believe, Governor, is the home of the Real Housewives of New Jersey.
another real banner event for the state of New Jersey.
You're not a fan of reality shows?
I'm not a fan of the Real Housewives of New Jersey.
Okay, this is a very real program, unscripted and unedited. We have
our program, you mean?
This program,
yes.
Governor Christie on the Line.
Of course.
And NJTV.
That's why I said I'm not opposed to all reality TV.
But by the way, can we do this?
Just reality TV I'm not on.
Could I clarify something? We actually, the last program we did was just as NJTV was coming on the air. New Jersey Network was going away.
Yes.
Any thoughts? And I don't want to be self-serving because you may like it, you may not like it. I don't really know. Your thoughts about the change from public television when it was run by the government, funded by the government, and as it's moved into the private sector?
Listen, I think it's so much better to have it in the private sector. I mean, government should not be in the business of running media, in my opinion, and we shouldn't be in the business as taxpayers and subsidizing it. There's plenty of taxpayers who donate to NJTV, donate to WNET, donate to public radio, and that should be their choice, and they should support it philanthropically, and that's great. But we now have it being run privately. I think the quality of the programming has been excellent. We still have a nightly newscast that is done right here in this studio and is done very well. And I think, in the beginning they had a bit of a rough start because it was brand new. But I think as it's evolved now over the last 8 or 9 months, things are getting really good. We have other New Jersey public broadcasting programming on here. You're involved with some of that.
Our colleague Michael Aaron is coming on board now as well.
Right. I saw On the Record this weekend.
Reporters Roundtable.
So I think it's doing really well. And guess what? For the taxpayers out there, you're not paying for it anymore.
It's the best part. And by the way, I don't want to turn this into a commercial for NJTV, so let's go back to Franklin Lakes. I apologize, Mike, for diverting our attention. This is Christie on the Line. Talk to the governor, more importantly. Hey, Mike, you there?
Yes.
Hey, good. Mike. Talk to the governor. You probably got distracted by my distraction. Yes. Go ahead, Mike.
Hello, Governor. I would like to know, as an American contractor, I pay my taxes, pay my guys on the books. How am I supposed to compete against the illegal immigrants that aren't paying taxes?
Well, listen, I have to tell you something. It's a big problem, and it's a problem that needs to be dealt with by the president and the Congress. State by state, we can't deal with the immigration issue in this country. It's a federal problem. And I think that this president, candidly, has failed, and this Congress and the last Congress has failed. President Bush tried to do something about this when he was in office. Congress shut him down. President Obama hasn't even tried to fix this, nor has the current Congress. And so I think that we need to have folks in Congress and in the White House who understand a dilemma like he just talked about, and understand that we need to get a logical, sane approach to immigration in this country that obeys the laws and that respects the people who are here. And right now we don't have that system in place, and it causes a lot of consternation on all sides. But at the state level, we can't do much to fix that. It's a federal problem that needs to be fixed.
We'll go back and talk about federal politics or national politics just a little bit later on. You don't mind?
No.
Because you're always on national shows. I see you all the time.
Thank you.
Let's go to our partners at the Star Ledger and NJ.com for another video question for the governor.
What initiatives or ideas do you have to support charter schools and their startup in the state of New Jersey?
Joanna, go ahead. Joanna, how do you pronounce her name? Tahita.
Tahita.
Right. Yes.
Tahita, we have opened more charter schools in the Christie administration than any administration since Governor Whitman. And I believe that the focus of charter school openings in New Jersey should be in failing school districts. In school districts that are failing the kids currently, where they and their parents need options, and they don't have them. And we need to have more and more charter school seats in places like Newark and Jersey City, Trenton, Camden, Patterson, Passaic, places, Asbury Park, places where the school districts are failing these kids, and their parents don't have the economic wherewithal to be able to send their child to a private school or a parochial school as an option. We need to have a public charter school which gives them an option for their kids to succeed. I'm going to focus our efforts on failing school districts.
Let's go to Randolph, New Jersey. We have Lisa.
Neighbor.
Is that a neighbor of yours?
Yes, I'm a neighbor. Hello.
Absolutely.
Lisa, let me ask you, I don't want to put the governor on the spot, or you, but what kind of neighbor is the governor? You see him take out recycling? What do you see him do?
He's an excellent neighbor, I have to say.
What is she going to say?
Well, she could say, listen, I don't know who she is. She could wind up, she could say whatever she wants to say. She's telling the truth. Why are you such a cynic?
I'm not, listen.
She's a New Jersey, and she's a New Jersey woman. That means, by definition, she tells the truth.
Yes. Lisa, I want to thank you so much for engaging the governor in a spirited discussion. No softballs tonight. Go ahead, Lisa.
Governor, how are you planning on implementing President Obama's health insurance reforms so that residents of the state of New Jersey don't have to start leaving to move to Massachusetts?
Yeah, well, listen, we're going to have to see whether the president's health insurance reform is found constitutional. Now, we're taking all the steps that we need to take in planning in our Department of Health to be able to implement federal health care reform if it comes through. But I think we all know that this is going to be argued for 3 days in front of the new United States Supreme Court this spring, and everyone anticipates there'll be a decision by the Supreme Court on the constitutionality of the federal health care reform by the end of June this year. So we're not making any huge investments in it until we know that it's constitutional. If it's not, we're all going to have to go back to the drawing board. If it is, New Jersey is positioned to meet the law if we need to. But we've spent the minimal amount we've needed to be able to get ready, because if it turns out to be unconstitutional, Steve, I don't want to waste the people's money.
Got to do this real quick, Governor. Joanna Gagas, our producer, I promise you I'll get to that question, but I'm going to ask the governor this. In all seriousness, you have done a lot of national programs. Today Show, Morning Joe. You're actually doing Morning Joe tomorrow.
Yes.
You do this. And I've also seen you on Piers Morgan doing some personal stuff and family. How has your family dealt with, you have 4 kids. And Mary Pat is a strong figure.
Yes, she is.
How have they dealt with all the national attention?
Well, listen, I think they've dealt pretty well. I mean, listen, life's become different. And I think the biggest way, there's 2 big ways it affects the kids, obviously, is that, I'm not around as much as I used to be. And I think, that can be difficult for them at times. And whenever we go out any place now, there's really no privacy. If we go out to dinner, my daughter Bridget, who's 8 years old, said that she said this at dinner one night, my least favorite words in the world are, I hate to interrupt, Governor, but.
Right.
They'll
do it anyway.
Yeah, when we're out to dinner and stuff. And listen, most people are very nice, and I don't mind it. But it affects the kids more than it affects me. I'm used to it. But, they have a pretty normal life. Like, my daughter Sarah turned 16 this week. We're at a big Sweet 16 party for her this weekend. We still do normal things that normal New Jersey families do. And we try to keep it as normal for our kids. That's why we didn't move to the governor's residence in Princeton, because our kids all would have had to change schools. We didn't want to do that. We wanted them to stay in the schools that they're in and have as normal a life with their same friends that they had before I became governor. So Mary Pat and I work really hard at trying to keep it normal, but we can't say it's the way it used to be. It's not. When Oprah Winfrey comes to your house, things become different. And
you hanging out with Oprah these days?
Not hanging out, but she came to the house to interview us, and that's the first time my kids actually thought I was cool.
That's pretty cool.
Oprah Winfrey came to the house.
Andrew thinks you're cool?
Yes. Yeah, currently. But, that's changeable. He's 18, so that could change on a moment's notice. And once he goes away to college this fall, it'll definitely change.
Good stuff. Let's go back and see if Jack, who I believe is in Wyckoff, thinks you're cool. Jack, how you doing? Steve Adubato here, and we are with Governor Christie on the line. Go ahead, Jack.
Governor Christie, good evening.
Thanks, Jack.
Governor, your colleagues in Wisconsin and in Ohio have tried to balance their budgets by changing the collective bargaining systems, and Governor Walker is now facing a recall election. Do you feel that what they're trying to do would be a reasonable way to deal with it here in New Jersey as well?
Well, it's not possible to be done here in New Jersey. I mean, the fact is that you have to know your limits here. And when you have a Democratic legislature, as I do, the idea of doing something like that is just not politically possible. And so I'm not going to judge Scott Walker or John Kasich on what they decided to do. The people of their state will judge them. We've dealt with things in a very upfront way here in New Jersey, and I have to tell you the truth. I think we've dealt with it in a fair way here. And I'm engaged in collective bargaining right now with state workers unions. As I said before, I settled with a number of them. And we're settling on tough terms for the people of this state. That's my job. My job is to represent you. They have their representatives in the union. My job is to represent the taxpayers. And I'm going to drive a hard bargain for the taxpayers. That's what you pay me to do.
Got another email question. By the way, folks, put up the email address. I know the telephone number is up right now, the email address. This comes from the Star-Ledger governor. Marie asked this question about mother's rights. You've talked about this. Governor, I've listened to your explanation about the birth mother rights to privacy, but please explain how a birth mother's rights can be more important than the individual's rights to their own birth certificate.
No, you see, there's so much misinformation out there about this. And
What's
let me try
your
to clear it
position
up.
and then clear it up?
My position is pretty clear, that we have to respect the rights of both sides. And I presented a compromise proposal on adoption records that would respect the privacy for a period of time of a birth parent, but also provide necessary information to adoptees. And let me tell you something, Steve, this is very personal to me. My younger sister, Dawn, is adopted. We adopted her when she was 2 years old. I've sat and talked to her about this issue because I want to know from the perspective of an adoptee, what she thinks about it. And she thought the compromise that I suggested was reasonable. Now, that's not determinative. It's just one person's opinion. But I care deeply about this issue, but I think that we have to respect the rights of both people because birth mothers have given up those children with the promise that there would be confidentiality. I don't think we can wholesale change the rules in the middle of the game. What I tried to suggest was a compromise where both sides could be protected. Legislature didn't go for the compromise, and so we're back at square one where we are.
If you're listening to us on WOR 710 or WBGO Jazz 88.3, pick up the phone, give us a call, 1-800-222-6459, or we're streaming live on NJ.com or watching us on NJTV or WNET. Folks, pick up the call, pick up the phone, give us a call, email us. Joanna, we're going to Elizabeth, New Jersey, and I think it's Shirley. Shirley, how are you? Steve Adubato here with Governor Christie, who is on the line.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Shirley, you there?
Yes.
You're on the air live here from Montclair State University.
I'd like to know what the governor's position is on fracking after the problems in Ohio and Pennsylvania.
Shirley, we will do that, but Governor, I don't want to assume everyone knows what fracking is. I think I know, but I'm not sure.
Fracking is a method of drilling underground, usually a mile or more underneath the ground, to release natural gas from shale deposits that are underneath the ground at that level. And it's a method that involves drilling and the putting down that hole that's drilled, significant water to loosen this gas, natural gas. Some say that there's 100 years of energy underneath the United States in these shale deposits in places like North Dakota, Ohio, and Pennsylvania.
And some environmentalists say it is very dangerous to do that because you're also releasing certain dangerous chemicals into the ecosystem, and it is just not worth it. And you say?
There's a real argument about that right now. And
what
so,
do you think?
Well, here's what I say. First of all, I want to note that the Obama administration's EPA administrator, Lisa Jackson,
who was from New Jersey,
was the DEP administrator for Governor Corzine and his chief of staff, came up with a comment just a couple of days ago saying that she believes fracking can be done safely. So, certainly no one would say that Lisa Jackson's anti-environment, especially the environmentalists. So I think that there's a real debate going on in our country about it. So here's what we decided to do in New Jersey. First of all, we have almost no shale under our ground. There may be a little bit in Sussex County, but it's still none that anybody's interested in drilling.
Where is the area then that becomes an issue in New Jersey? Isn't it really outside the state?
It is. It's in
Pennsylvania.
It's in Pennsylvania and New York, along the Delaware River.
Right.
And so what I've said, the legislature passed this past year a permanent ban on fracking in New Jersey. I said, first of all, no one wants to frack in New Jersey. Secondly, we have no shale. So what are we doing? What I decided to do was to conditionally veto that bill and turn it into a one-year moratorium and say, while the EPA is studying this issue, while the DEP is studying this issue, we won't allow any fracking until we get hard scientific proof about the safety of this issue. It seems as if the EPA on the federal level is trending now, given Lisa's comments, towards saying that fracking should be allowed. I think we should make this final point on this. We should make this decision based on the science, not based on emotion.
Got it. Joanna, listen, I want to ask about gay marriage, but I'd rather someone else ask about it. So our timing is right. Governor, it was going to come up sooner or later because it's an important issue in New Jersey and across the country. Is this a Star Ledger video question from our partners at the Ledger and NJ.com? Let's go to it for the governor.
Why didn't you pass the bill for marriage equality?
Zoe wants to know. Why did you not pass the bill for marriage equality? You vetoed it.
I did. I vetoed it. I conditionally vetoed it, and adding in strengthening of civil unions in New Jersey and putting an ombudsman in charge of receiving and investigating complaints for disparate treatment of same-sex couples. Listen, fact is, I campaigned on the idea in 2009 that I oppose same-sex marriage. That I believe marriage should be between one man and one woman. I've made that position very clear from the time I ran for governor through the time I've been governor.
But positions evolve.
Well, mine doesn't.
Society evolves.
Mine has not. My position has not evolved, and I'm the guy who got elected governor. And so what I did was offer a compromise. I said to the supporters of same-sex marriage, part of their argument is that the people in New Jersey, like that young woman, want same-sex marriage. Okay.
In the polls.
Right, in the polls. So, and they say that's why you should sign it. I say, okay, well, let's have a vote. Let's put it on the ballot, and let's have the people of New Jersey vote. And if they vote to amend the Constitution to allow same-sex marriage, I'm all for it.
But they're not going to win, Governor, and you know it as well as I do.
Certainly, listen, I saw a poll this morning, Steve, that says 57% of New Jerseyans support same-sex marriage. So you may say, because you're such an expert in politics, that you know that it's going to not pass. I have no idea.
Governor, in California, when Proposition 8 came up, the polls before said it would pass. With all the money that comes in, listen, you're the expert on politics. I defer to you.
Well, then
do you know that a lot of money, Governor, a lot of money come in against these propositions, and don't they tend to fail?
And for it. Well, they have tended to fail.
Right.
But I will tell you this: if you're right that positions evolve and thought evolves, we don't know what would happen. And so, listen, I'm offering them an opportunity to put it on the ballot. I've asked all Republicans to support it. Republican Senator Kip Bateman has sponsored the legislation. If they believe that a majority of New Jerseyans want it, then put it on the ballot and prove it. And by the way, that same poll today, 67% of New Jerseyans said they want a right to vote on it. Now, 57%, and this is what's confusing about this issue, Steve. 57% say they support gay marriage. By a 48 to 47 margin, they say they support my veto.
Complex issue,
it
but
is
not going away anytime soon.
Listen, well, I think it is going away in this respect. In this respect,
not for the people who are same-sex couples.
Finish my answer. As a political issue in this respect, they know in New Jersey that I've vetoed the bill now. They do not have the votes to override the veto. And we need to move on. It's not that this isn't an important subject, but we need to move on to other topics now. We have other very important issues in New Jersey to deal with. Putting people back to work, getting our economy growing again, reforming an education system that's failing thousands of children every day. We need to deal with those issues too. We've spent now a good amount of time on this issue. We've reached loggerheads on it. I've given them an opportunity to have another out. They say they don't want it. So we need to move on.
I believe we can do that and those other things, Governor. Well, we just may disagree.
Listen, well, that's fine, but what are we going to continue to debate about, Steve?
Well, you vetoed it. That's what it is. If they can't override it, that's it.
And that's my only point.
That's fair.
Is that, and if they want to have a further debate on it, let's have the debate surrounding a statewide referendum in a presidential election year when the most people will be voting and the greatest cross-section of New Jersey will come to the polls.
And let's clarify that the president does, in fact, have the same position that you have.
Yes, he does.
Joanne, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Who do we have? Vincent, who wants to know about tolls. Boy, do we shift gears dramatically.
Yes.
We go to a question from NJ.com. Vincent from Old Bridge says, Governor, the middle class is struggling. Most earn less than what they did 5 years ago. Yet the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey and the Turnpike Authority continue to raise tolls. What's being done to tame these reckless increases?
Well, we've done a few things. First off, the Port Authority, Governor Cuomo and I have ordered an audit. The initial part of that audit has come back with a number of suggestions of changes to save money at the Port Authority. We're going to institute those suggestions in that audit. Secondly, from the Turnpike Authority perspective, I will tell you, those tolls were ordered raised by Governor Corzine, and then he borrowed money based upon that toll revenue stream. And I was not in a position to say that those tolls should not be raised. It would violate the bond covenants that we have with the people who lent us the money, and we'd be sued. So I understand. I may not have, I don't think I would have been in favor of those toll increases at the time, but the fact of the matter is I'm stuck with them. So, there's certain things that you can reverse that your predecessor has done. There's other things you can't. This is under the category of I couldn't.
We're going to go to Norman for a second, but I just want to clarify something. We used to do this program was not always called Christie on the Line. Before that, it was called
Corzine on the Line.
And I asked Governor Corzine the same question about gay marriage. I just want to clarify that he told me he supported it. And at the time, the Democrats controlled both the lower house and the Senate. And they were not able to make this happen when the governor was the governor. I just want to clarify that question, okay? Because some are going to ask the question, what happened then? But right on this program, the governor clarified that he was very supportive of gay marriage, but it never seemed to get signed into law. We go to Norman in Elizabeth, New Jersey, who has a question about a very different subject. Again, go ahead, Norman, for the governor.
Governor.
Hey, Norman.
You've been leaving the state. How are you? You've been leaving the state quite a bit lately to help the political campaign for Mitt Romney. Who is paying for your trips and the state police who also travel with you?
Well, when I travel out of state, the Romney campaign pays for me to be out of state, and that's the way it works. If anybody asks me to go out of state, and I haven't been out of state that often. Since December, I've been out of state 5 times. So I haven't been out of state that often, and most of the time I've been out of state on the weekends.
What's Mitt Romney's problem, Governor? Yes, I know he won as we do this program. He won in his home state of Michigan. He also won out west again. But he has not put this thing away. I know it is a long-term situation. I know that your name keeps coming up. I know you said you're not doing this. Why is he not connecting more effectively, as much as you would like him to, and others?
Listen, as I've said before, I think he's a very reserved guy. And I think we live in very tumultuous times. And so I think that the Republican Party and its voters are so focused on trying to make sure that they defeat President Obama, that they want to make sure they pick the very best candidate to take it to President Obama in the fall. So they're shopping around. And you've seen Herman Cain's been a front runner. Michelle Bachmann's been a front runner. Rick Perry was a front runner, right? Or Newt Gingrich has been a front runner twice. Rick Santorum was a front runner for a while. But the one constant has been either first or second place has always been Mitt Romney. And I think what you'll see over time is as they shop around away from the guy that they've known for a long time, because Governor Romney ran the last time, none of these other guys did, they're going to come back to Mitt Romney as the Republican nominee, and then he's going to have a battle on his hands with the president this fall.
And if he asks you to be his number 2?
I doubt that's something I would want to do. I won't rule it out, only because I think that I owe it to Governor Romney, if he were to ask me the question, to sit and listen to him as to why he thinks I would be the best person to be vice president. But, you know, from my perspective, if you're a betting person, bet on me still being governor of New Jersey in January of 2013.
Apparently, then, Christie on the line will not be going away anytime soon.
No, I hope. Well, it depends if you're on your best behavior or not. You know.
What do you? Is that a threat?
No, it's just an observation.
I just want to clarify.
Well, good.
We go back to the Star Ledger and the NJ.com video team for the governor, as long as he is the governor and not running for national office. Go ahead.
Governor, I'm graduating this year. What kind of job market am I stepping into in New Jersey?
Job market in New Jersey, Governor.
Lisa, it's getting better. It's getting better. Please stay. 60,000 new private sector jobs created in New Jersey since we took office. We're seeing revenue growth at the state level. We're seeing new businesses coming in and existing businesses expanding. And so I think, you know, you're coming out of college at a very good time to enter the job market, much better than the last 3 or 4 years. This is probably the best job market we've had since, well, we know it's the best job market we've had since the year 2000 in New Jersey. So I think you're doing it at a good time, Elisa. And so hopefully you come out in the job market, you bring your talents and have them stay here in New Jersey and become a taxpayer and a voting citizen right here.
Bergen County, Leonia is up there, right?
Yes.
How many municipalities are in Bergen County?
70-some.
Just want to clarify that. Is that too many?
Probably.
You know, we'll be talking about mergers and consolidations in the next edition of Christie on the Line. Hey, Ernie, you are from Leonia, correct?
Yes, I am.
And you have a question for Governor Christie, right?
Yes, Governor.
Go for it.
Thank you very much. Governor, as an entrepreneur, I'd like to do my part in stimulating the economy, but I'd like to support from your administration in incentives and a direction on how to do our part in stimulating the economy. We have a lot of ideas as far as categories in building and the construction field and in a variety of areas.
Hey,
Sure.
Ernie, do me a favor. Time is tight. Get right to it, buddy.
I think you just asked. Ernie, here's the way you help. The way you help and the way you give your ideas to us is call the Business Action Center. The New Jersey Business Action Center, run by the Lieutenant Governor, Kim Guadagno. It's your interactive place for businesses, small and large, in New Jersey to interact with state government. Give us your ideas about what we should be doing, and we'll tell you what we can do for you. So call the Business Action Center. If you go to my website, www.nj.gov/governor, you're going to be able to get a look on there, and you'll see the Business Action Center, and you'll be able to give you the number and email address, and you'll be able to communicate directly with them. There are people manning the Business Action Center every business day of the week to take your calls and to provide you help and to take your input.
By the way, I apologize, Ernie. I cut you off there. Joanna, do you want to go to the caller or the email? Email. This is from Ken in Pine Hill. A question from, actually from Rutgers University at Rowan, Rutgers-Rowan question. Governor, how do you justify eliminating Rutgers Camden campus as a choice for South Jersey citizens by allowing takeover of Rutgers campus by Rowan University?
Because it's going to make Rowan a major research university in South Jersey and enhance both the business and economic atmosphere down there and the academic atmosphere. Rowan's added a medical school. The Cooper Medical School is just starting down at Rowan. If you add Rutgers Camden Law School, you now have the three major pieces you need for a major research university: a law school, a medical school, and a thriving undergrad school, which is very big in engineering. This is important, and I think consolidating those resources in South Jersey, making it a major presence, is going to be great for South Jersey.
Joanne, I don't think we have time for, let's do this. We don't have time for John. I want to apologize. How much time, guys? Governor, I want to thank you for joining us for Christie on the Line. I want to thank all of our media partners, our folks who paid for this program, our funders. Governor, most importantly, I want to thank you for making it possible for us to be here, our partners at NJDV and Montclair State University. Thank you, Governor.
My pleasure, Steve. Thanks for having me. Always fun.
This was great.
Email us at democracyworks@caucusnj.org and visit us online at caucusnj.org. Christie on the Line has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation and NJTV in cooperation with 134WNET, WBGO Jazz 88.3 FM, and News Talk Radio 710 WOR. Funding for this edition of Christie on the Line has been provided by the law firm of Gibbons PC, Johnson & Johnson, New Jersey Manufacturers Insurance Group, United Water, MD Advantage Insurance Company of New Jersey, Verizon Communications, Barnabas Health, PSE&G, Seton Hall University, TD Bank, Qualcare Inc., Virtua, and by these public-spirited organizations and individuals that support the effort to inform New Jersey citizens about the issues that matter most in our state. Media support provided by the Star-Ledger and NJ.com, Everything Jersey. Promotional support provided by The Record, North Jersey's trusted source, and NorthJersey.com.